We are currently somewhere in Lazio, and we are at Auto Grill. We have a mission today because we still have 3 more hours left, and we're hungry. Our team has €10 to find what they feel we need as a group in our car, so you get whatever you feel that we need. And remember, we all have to share. I have a feeling this will be good and bad. For me, Auto Grill is a staple of the Italian road trip, and I'm very excited to be here. And one thing that I always find very important, the bathrooms are quite clean, though they may stink. So here's our haul. It looks like we have salty and sweet on the mind. There's a lot of other options in there, like prosciutto, mortadella, there's some decent cheeses. But now we're gonna keep driving and eat a lot of shit.
A lot of sugar.
Let's do this. Okay.
We're rolling, Rob.
Italy may be a small country geographically, which is why we've been able to traverse it fairly easily over the course of this season, but the influences that have come out of these major cultural epicenters have had a huge impact around the globe. For me specifically, it was a taste of 1977 Terrazzi from Campania that launched me into a career of hospitality. And yet, for as close as these places are to one another, the vastness of expression from each region and community therein is hard to fathom. From the volcanoes of Sicily to the Wild West that is Sardinia, from the timelessness of Tuscany to the vibrancy of Venice, and from the uniqueness of the Marche to the independence that is the mountainous north, every place we've been to has shown us that as soon as you think you know something about a place, there's another chapter to its story. For me, nowhere is that more apparent today than in Piedmont. Once a sleepy wine nerd haven that has grown in popularity the world over thanks to the explosive popularity of Nebbiolo and the production of Barolo and Barbaresco. But like everything in Italy, if you happen to take that odd turn and follow the road just a little bit further, you'll find there is yet another layer to Piedmont, and that is the story of Asti and Nizza. Before Nebbiolo dominated the landscape of many a wine list from San Francisco to Hong Kong, Asti was the city and Barbera was the grape, but fortunes turn and times change. Although one thing that remains consistent throughout all of Italy is that if you're going to have a lofty conversation about a region's place in history and its future, it's done around the table among family and friends, surrounded by local food and wine. If you're going to talk Barbera, the place to do it is Enoteca con Cucina Cafe Roma, run by Simone Riso and his family. He and his mother in the front of the house, his dad and his brother in the back. The specialty of the house is, of course, a regional favorite called Bagna Cauda, and to go along with it, a centuries-old cellar that boasts one of the most impressive collections of Barbera anywhere.
We are in a very, very old wine cellar. This house was a property of the castle and was built at the same time of the castle of Costigliole d'Asti. In this moment now we have a collection with 100,000 bottles. And the most part is Barbera, young Barbera, old Barbera, Superiore, every kind. Barbera obviously is our most traditional red wine, and it's the wine that we prefer a lot. If you have a lunch or a dinner that is very fat, very important, young Barbera is the best one because the acidity in the wine is very good to enjoy the meal.
Just like in all over the world, you know, like in Texas where I'm from, there's regionality within Texas. And the thing I've always noticed about Italy, it's a small country, but from village to village, things can be completely different, even though you're all Piedmontese.
Very much.
What do you feel are the cultural differences between the Langhe and here in Monferrato and Nizza? Or are there any? Are you just better? And no.
You tried to put me on the spot.
I did. Trying to be provocative.
I believe there's no big difference in that. I believe the richness of Piedmont, that there's so many different areas where there's so many very high quality. So let's take a look on this area in Monferrato. You have amazing Barbera, you have amazing Moscato. You go in Langhe, you have amazing Nebbiolo. You go in the north and you have a different interpretation of Nebbiolo, which I really love. You think about Gemme, Gattinara, and all these very important appellations that are taking over now. There's investment on that area too. And you think about whites as well. You go to Gavi and you have a different side of Piedmont, which is amazing. So I don't really see differences in terms of people. I just see difference in terms of soil and different histories, and of course different varietals.
You're part of a house that has legacy, and how do you envision maintaining your tradition yet always trying to move forward? Or is it just we're, like we talked about earlier, it's staking our claim for today and encapsulating it and just moving that time capsule forward?
No, I believe new generation has the responsibility to bring new projects. Like talking about myself, of course, which I'm the last that arrived in my family business. I believe it's very important having new projects as the Nizza. Personally speaking, I have new project in making crews out of Nizzas, and of course I believe that and many others, like there's this area also I believe has a lot to prove and show about hospitality. I believe people, and I believe new generation, young people in this area starting to understand how much important is the hospitality, because having people at the winery is the real privilege to share our philosophy and let them know how we work every day in the winery. Not only going into the market, but having people here is the real heritage. Piedmont is a very serious region, and Piedmontese people are sometimes shy, and sometimes not too very proud, but sometimes there's a matter of miscommunication between understatement. Thank you very much. I was looking for that word. Thank you very much. But I believe that's the style of Piedmont, and also even on the wine, it takes time to communicate. But as long we're still producing quality, as it has been proved, many amounts of producers has produced so much quality in the last 20 years, which put definitely Piedmont on the map. And I believe right now it's a very important moment for Piedmont.
Filippo Mobrici also sees this as an important moment in Piedmont. In the southern part of Asti province lies the commune of Nizza, which received its own DOCG status in 2014 thanks to the efforts of Filippo and the Consorzio Barbera di Asti e Vini del Monferrato, which he's president of. But far from seeing this as a separation from Asti, Filippo instead wants to showcase how connected Nizza is to this territory and its place today.
Perché la storia del Nizza è una storia legata fortemente a quella che è la storia della Barbera. Nizza Monferrato e dintorni è stata da sempre, forse io dico, ma senza tema di errore, che a Nizza è nata quella che viene definita l'enologia moderna dei vini piemontesi e non solo. A Nizza sono nate le più grandi e antiche case vinicole del Piemonte, Scarpa è una, Bersano, Chiarlo di vicino, Coppo. Intorno a Nizza comunque, quindi al territorio di Nizza, si è sviluppata l'enologia moderna. Noi partiamo dal fatto che noi siamo produttori di vino, poi e noi andiamo in giro nel mondo per vendere il nostro vino, per promuovere il nostro vino. È evidente che tutti questi amici, queste persone che incontriamo, ci auguriamo che poi vengano a trovarci a casa, e quindi il progetto Nizza si integra bene in questo progetto di promozione, comunicazione e vendita dei nostri prodotti. È un movimento nuovo che nel Monferrato ormai posso dire da qualche tempo, da qualche anno, si sta verificando. Ci sono tante aziende che hanno riscoperto la voglia, il piacere di fare il vino, di occuparsi delle proprie cascine, come si definiscono qui. Quindi è un movimento che non si circoscrive solo alla Nizza, ma ci sono altre aree dove noi viviamo tanta vivacità, quindi tanto movimento da una parte, cioè quindi da noi che andiamo verso fuori, e da coloro, i turisti che vengono a trovarci per il vino, per la gastronomia e per tutto ciò che è il nostro territorio.
What is peachy, fizzy, and brings a smile to everyone's face? Yep, that's right, Moscato di Asti, a wine made from a grape that has many cousins, but like others, place makes all the difference. And this place is Piemonte, obviously near Asti, made in a frizzante or fizzy style and sweet. The wine may seem to be a conundrum, but it is not just for dessert. A perfect opener to a picnic, awesome on a hot day, and of course, when in Piemonte, the only wine used in making Zabaione. I'll never forget my first Moscato di Asti. I bet you won't either. Our last stop on this trip was just south of Nizza at Kerosene, a family-operated farm and winery that began in 1927. What I was saying earlier about taking that odd turn down the road less traveled? Well, Kerosene is just what I meant about finding another layer. It is a farm, it is a winery, it is a brewery, and there are donkeys, because why wouldn't there be donkeys? More and more wineries and farms are implementing organic farming practices, or some going a step further in growing and producing products as they would before the industrial age. I have to admit, I've avoided getting into broader discussions about natural wine because it always seems to become somewhat polarizing, and the last thing I want to do when I'm with my friends is to get in an argument over semantics. But for Luca you know what? I'm just gonna let him say it.
And how do you say your last name one more time?
I'm Garberoglio.
Exactly.
That's it.
Luca
Garberoglio.
Perfect. You did it really well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. For Luca and his mom Bruna, being producers of natural wine is actually quite simple. What they and many winemakers are trying to create are wines that truly express the terroir they come from by only using natural yeasts in the air to help ferment, by ensuring nothing touches the vineyards, and taking a less is more approach. After years of tasting wine and even making it, I 100% agree.
This is something you don't see much in the States. Have any of you ever bought an entire wheel of cheese?
No, I want to.
I never have, but that's super cool. I think that's very boss of you, Bruna. It's uno detto boss.
Ho detto un capo.
Do you see more people in Asti moving towards farming organically or biodynamically? Do they see the worth in it for themselves, the environment?
Yeah, in Asti we have a strong movement. So even people who are starting to run a winery, they are most of the time start to run a natural wine, basically. But not only as a tag. So they are believing in that, of course.
And Luca, you were telling me that your mom has been the life force and the push for the winery, and this seeking terroir, seeking the proper growing of grapes and the respect for the environment and for yourselves. What place do you feel, and what is the future of natural wine in Asti?
So this is a very good point if you consider the Asti region, because of course probably Asti is one of the regions in the world where there is the less amount of natural wine everywhere. So we are basically famous for the Moscato. It's very unstable wine. So the Moscato d'Asti is it shouldn't be a natural wine. And so we are famous for that. Basically, Piedmont, the whole region, contains more than 100 different varieties of grape. And so now we are coming back, especially in Piedmont, and we are trying to release wine able to express the grape from the yard, basically.
So when it comes to natural wine, at the end of the day, I think I've also gotten to a point where I just don't want to fight about anything anymore. If I like it and it tastes good, why should it matter?
Right.
Like if it's what you think is correct, or this person, I just think a lot of the vitriol, the bickering, the bitching back and forth is one to get Instagram clicks, to get clicks on websites, and no one's willing to really sit down and discuss it as adults. And you can still be passionate, and you can still get together and have fun, but it shouldn't just be this like us or them, like you're right, you're wrong.
I really like to distinguish terroir wine and glue wine. So you can have a glass of wine just instead a glass of beer, only to drink something very easily, and so without thinking about learning something to this wine. Of course, it's very hard to drink a glass of wine turning your mind off. It's almost impossible, but you can have a glass of wine sometimes very easily, and there's a wine able to be more easy and so more drinkable as a beverage.
That's interesting. So I think what you said earlier is the problem, is that there's two camps now that are very juxtaposed and no one's coming to the middle. And I had a producer who said to me, who makes wine in the same way, natural fermentation, no very, very low SO2. And it's like, I don't want my wine to be referred to as natural because I don't want the blowback and because I don't want my wine to be seen as glue. And that is something that I think has become some problem. I mean, we're part of the problem as press. I think there's certain bars and producers that are part of the problem, but that have caused people to really get angry on either side about what is wine. And I don't think that there is one definition of what wine is.
I just find that we're doing a real disservice to people that are just getting into exploring wine in general by telling people through the press or whatever that natural wine is bad wine or natural wine is flawed wine. And it has, all natural wine is this style. Right. All natural wine is cloudy with faults and you know what I mean? Like that is telling somebody that is just getting into exploring what could be revelatory wines for them that they should stay away from those wines because they're not going to be good. Right. And that's unfortunate.
And that's why I think with your wines, like this comes to the middle. I think it's wine that you've worked extremely hard on with your entire family. And it fits for some people. This wouldn't even fit into natural wine because it doesn't taste a specific way.
Right.
And that becomes so frustrating.
Because people associate natural wine with a style,
Right.
and it's totally different.
Right.
It's not, natural wine is not a style of wine.
And I think as more people explore it, and I love what you said, Jenny, and I think it's important for everybody to realize is coming to wine organically and deciding what you like as yourself. The consumer, or you as each individual, just tasting wine saying, do you like it or not? That's all it comes down to. Bruno and Luca, complimenti. Tuvini è fantastico. These wines are, and I think the beautiful thing about like these wines and being with you is just, I always feel that with wine like this, and this is one reason again, why for me the farming practice is so important of being in the vineyards all the time, is that tu vini is tu cuore, your wine's your heart, and I can taste that. How do I say that? How can I say I can taste?
Può sentire tipo l'intenzione che ci metti nel vino. Il tuo vino è il tuo cuore.
Sì. Luigi, mio marito, mi dice sempre: perché fai orto? Perché hai le galline? Perché hai il pollaio? Perché non voglio perdere la dimensione del contatto con gli animali, perché questo è essere contadini e fare vino naturale. Io vivo naturalmente e produco anche vino.
So she lives naturally and happens to make wine.
I love that.
That's I think what we're all trying to get at and live for, and specifically in the wine industry. You literally just she solved our hour-long conversation. All right, we're done. Thank you.
Perché tipo hai risolto tipo in 2 parole quello che stiamo cercando di dire.
For as vast as the different wine regions of Italy are, every time I visit, there's still an underlying aspect that connects it all. The amazing people who welcome you in to share their food, wine, and lives with you. This is especially true when you get off the beaten path even just a little to discover what centuries of cultures passing through this land brought with them and left behind. From the ancient artifacts of the Etruscans, to the castles and art of the Renaissance, up to the global contributions to the food and wine industries today, there is no denying Italy's place as one of the world's most amazing destinations. I get super pissed off when people are like, spontaneous yeast, cloud terroir, and I'm like, it's your terroir. It's bullshit if you don't use spontaneous yeast. It literally doesn't make sense to me anymore.
Right. Because the yeast grows on the grapes.
It's there. It's part of the terroir. It's here. Like, I have yeast that grow on me. It's my terroir. You know? Like,
I never heard it like that way.